Who's number 3?
Mr. Rooney.
Okay, Wayne Rooney.
I think, this is where I started with goal scorers. And I think he's just been such a name. He was so pivotal. He's still playing in the game now. A ridiculous amount of goals, but also goals sometimes that felt like they came out of nowhere.
Definitely.
At times. You know what I mean? You could argue that there's a lot of strikers that would score a lot of goals and out of someone else's creation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you or me stand at the edge of a goal and Kevin De Bruyne ping some balls in. I think we'll get at least 10 in a season.
I think you're being very generous to us,
I
Matthew.
think you're overstating our ability a little.
I reckon 10. Maybe you more than me. I'm only 5 foot, so probably a little low balls. But a lot of them came from what felt like a not a huge amount of support. A lot of it was of his own creation. And I think that's what makes him a really special striker.
No, I mean...
Is he on anyone else's list?
I mean, I think...
that's kind of spoilers.
He didn't make my list. I certainly thought about it.
To be fair, Wayne Rooney, I do have to think, I will say this, he's one of the most legendary Premier League footballers of all time. We're talking second highest goal scorer ever. What he achieved at Manchester United was just unbelievable. And there was a point really around, say, 2008, 9, 10... when he was undoubtedly the best out-and-out striker in the world at that point. Not even
FIFA cover.
not even there was a point where he was on like every FIFA cover for about 4 or 5 years, and he was unplayable, absolutely unplayable. For the things that he did for Manchester United, the goals that he scored, and then even later in his career, as he was able to, like the quality of Rooney, I feel like it's almost overlooked in this day and age.
Yeah.
He was able to sit back as he got a bit older in his career, and just some of the goals that he scored. I will say that overhead kick he scored against City, in my opinion, I think that's the greatest Premier League goal ever scored. Again, that's a discussion for another podcast, but for me personally, that's my number 1 Premier League goal of all time.
And something to remember is that he could be returning to the Premier League soon.
Well, to be honest with you, a little part of me...
But it probably won't, because Derby will fuck up again.
I mean, this is the thing. As of right now, obviously, he's at Derby, but to be honest with you, I think he would still do a job for any mid-table team, if not maybe even a little bit better. I think,
Would you sign him, George, for West Ham?
I know we get a lot of flack for signing players.
That is the most West Ham signing.
But to be fair, I think you can't doubt his class. And I kind of think, if we built the team... I know, so we're talking about building a team around a 35-year-old Rooney now. But to be fair,
500 years.
If we could get, something good with the wages, I would definitely have him at West Ham, 100%. And believe me, I'm the one most sick of us signing past it players. But I think the class of Wayne Rooney, it's always going to be there until he retires. And I still think he would do a job at probably most, if not all, mid-table Premier League clubs. I'm a little bit surprised that he's at Derby and not somewhere better right now. Yeah, no, Wayne Rooney. I think that's a valid shout.
I think to add to why he's at Derby, I think truthfully down he wants to play Football Manager, and his missus doesn't let him have a laptop, so I think he's trying to get a manager. But I think if you look at I know slightly different generations, but I think he would like to be somewhere managing a top Premier League club.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, he doesn't really have that pedigree. I think we can argue to the cows come home about whether Frank Lampard deserves to be at Chelsea. Spoiler alert, he doesn't. But, that is what it is. I'm going to get some fucking flack for that.
I'm not even looking at Frank. I'd say you look at
I would say Ollie.
Fucking hell. Ollie's not at the wheel. Yeah. Ollie needs to be in a fucking Uber home, mate. He is shit. Anyway.
But I think you talked about people like Gerrard and Lampard, obviously people like this Rooney played with, and I think he does want to get into management eventually. Not sure whether he was quite as...
I think in footballing terms he was.
Have you seen Wayne Rooney? He looks like an ogre. He's not intelligent.
Let's be real here. I think, academic or whatever. No, I think in terms of football, though, he still is a very intelligent footballer. He knows, his reading of the game for a forward, I think, was superb. And his vision, just on the pitch, I think is incredible. You think of that ball that he played for Van Persie the last time they won the league when he scored that goal against Aston Villa. To be honest with you, in this day and age, I feel like there are possibly only 3 players currently in the Premier League that could play that kind of ball, and I think they are De Bruyne, Harry Kane and Trent Alexander-Arnold. I don't think anyone else could play that kind of ball that Rooney played for Van Persie, and I do think that I know what you're talking, because obviously the way he comes across in the media, it's not great, especially when you take into consideration the personal elements of how the media have attacked him and
depends who he's been in now.
But from a footballing perspective, he's unbelievably intelligent, Wayne Rooney. That's the final whistle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Midtable Up Podcast. If you enjoy our top 10 lists, please make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. Let us know what you would have done differently. If you watch this episode on YouTube, make sure to put your foot through that subscribe button and leave a like on the video, as well as follow us on Spotify and the Podcasts app to keep up to date with the series. Thank you very much. See you next time.